this week's episode of Mando was crazy.
Yeah,
So
to
we
say the
start off
least.
in the beginning. In the beginning, we have what's her nuts that what we always thought was an Imperial spy to begin with
Yeah,
proves
finally.
herself
Yeah,
as being the Imperial spy. She goes somewhere on Coruscant to hide, right, in a back alley somewhere, and how do they not know that there's an Imperial probe droid there? Like that's what I don't get.
I don't get
Does the
how they
New
don't know
Republic?
she's not a spy.
Yeah,
She's not a
but
very
it's
good
like,
one.
does the New Republic think that they reprogrammed all the Imperial droids that they see? Because I know they've got some. Like, there's plenty of Imperial reprogrammed droids in places. But yeah, either way, so it comes out. We still don't know really what's going on with Pershing, but they showed Pershing getting his brain fried again in the
And now we know it
opening
was on
sequence
behest uh
of the Empire.
of
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon.
Yeah, Moff Gideon had that shit ordered because he knew that Dr. Pershing was genuinely a turncoat.
Yeah,
And like he was ready to switch sides and do good things for the New Republic. And yeah, so then speaking of Moff Gideon, what do you think about that meeting of like the shadow
the
organization,
the
the
admirals or
sh- the shadow leadership? Yeah, so we meet some really interesting people there. So like we have, I've got the list here.
what's the admiral's name that
Admiral
it,
Thrawn. So Admiral Thrawn was mentioned.
he's the one that is the leader of the shadow leadership, right?
Yeah, so of the shadow, yeah, the shadow leadership. Yeah, so they're yeah, so they're so Grand Admiral Thrawn was somebody that even after the Empire fell, um, we still haven't seen him yet. But if you watch Star Wars Rebels, Thrawn was a huge deal. Um,
He was
and
Moff Gideon's boss, right?
yeah, and so this is something that leads up to like with the Ahsoka series that's coming up. But yeah, so at the table, it's the Imperial Shadow Council, and it's like so the right hand man there was Pelion,
Yeah.
um, and then the other one was Commandant Brendel Hux. So you probably remember the name Hux from
I know it's
the
in the
this
books.
it's from the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
So his son, Brendel Hux's son, is was one of the generals in the or the admirals rather, uh, some big wig, I think admiral, uh, in the First Order. So this guy here, his dad, Brendel Hux, the guy that we're sitting here, uh, was someone who played a very key role in the founding of the First Order.
Yeah.
So we have so this is when but Hux is in charge of Project Necromancer. So they didn't really say a whole lot about it. So what's really cool is just mentioning that there's Project Necromancer. Um,
Which you,
First
I wonder
off,
what that has to be.
we can safely assume this has to do with the cloning and
Yeah.
reincarnation of Palpatine. But what this does is it ties together the Bad Batch, the original Kaminoans cloning efforts, Star Wars Rebels, the Ahsoka series, Thrawn, and the sequel trilogy, and they did this all in one scene. So that was really impressive. Like it brings all of this together uh, just in one fucking line, mentioning you've got Project Necromancer.
Which
So
and even that even so that leaves it so open ended as to what that entails.
oh, I know. And your video feed's lost, by the way. But yeah, so but then Gideon's all worried about he had heard that the Mandalorians were wanting to retake Mandalore. So with Mandalore being well a huge so when the Empire came in force destroying Mandalore was meant to use them as an example to the
Yeah,
rest of the galaxy. So Mandalore rising again
would be
would be a huge kick in the nuts to the Imperial image.
yeah to
And
any hope of them reigniting the Imperial war machine.
oh yeah, and they're trying to that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're sitting in this meeting and they're like, yeah, we can't sit there and have any big movements. We have to keep moving in silence because as long as they think we're just the Imperial remnant, they're not going
They're
to
not
take
gonna.
us too
Yep,
seriously. And that's yeah.
they're not gonna
So
look too deep into what's going
yeah,
on.
exactly. And so yeah, then we get and so then after that, we get all the Mandalorians to get together and they go to Mandalore and with the intent of
Yeah, I didn't know. I
retaking
didn't realize
Mandalore.
there was a whole nother group of Mandalorians.
Yeah, so there were the Children of the Watch, that's who Mando's a
Yeah,
part of. We had Bo-Katan's group of mercenaries, and
which
then we
were
get which were, now they're working together, and then they show up on the planet of Mandalore and they find yet more Mandalorians that have been on the planet since the bombing.
yeah.
And so
Well,
yeah, we
I was talking about that big group that came. That was a whole nother like faction of Mandalorians.
no, the ones that they encountered in the caves, no, that was those were Imperial stormtroopers.
No, no, not the ones that they encountered in the caves. So when in the beginning of the episode, when the like it shows the Mandalorian fleet coming in,
Uh-huh.
and you know how the two Mandalorians fight on the deck of the that like wind boat whatever.
Uh-huh.
Those two Mandalorians, one was from the Bo-Katan and Mando group. The other one was from a completely separate group that showed up.
Those were the remnants that were on the planet.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. Those were the only three groups of Mandalorians we saw in this episode.
Hold on a second. I gotta.
But
Maybe
yeah,
I'm.
yeah. So either way, we yeah, and that was basically it. So they go in there, they're trying to take over the Grand Armory or Great Armory or whatever the fuck that was called. Great Forge. And they're
Yeah,
ambushed by Gideon. Gideon had cleverly put his base of operations on Mandalore.
yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
all of this
And
whole
all of his.
Mandal
Go ahead.
yeah, so we get all this story of Mandalore being a cursed planet ever since the bombing happened, and all of that was Imperial propaganda to scare people away from the planet. The planet's completely habitable. It's fucked up, but very clearly people can live and survive there because they were.
Uh, okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for.
Yep, you were looking. That was the third group. They found them on the planet. Those were their guys, and they sent a whole bunch of them back to the Mandalorian fleet so they could get medical attention. So yeah, we got to talk about that confrontation with Gideon.
Yeah. So
So that was crazy. So they had so all of these stormtroopers. They had jetpacks. They were literally just Imperial versions of like
yeah, there were
Imperial
stormtroopers
Mandalorians.
with
Beskar
Beskar
armor,
armor.
Beskar armor, which was a problem because Beskar armor will absorb blaster fire better than anything. So they weren't your normal stormtroopers that were pushovers. They were actual, like they had good armor, and they had jetpacks. They had good armor. We find out that frickin' Gideon has a brand new Dark Trooper suit uh,
Yeah,
made out of Beskar, has a jetpack, has like he's like not only did he break out of the so I thought at the beginning where they were in the end of last episode where we saw the Beskar armor uh, on the shuttle that the Mandalorians had something to do with it. Now it's obvious that it was an Imperial operation, and that it was these Imperial stormtroopers with Beskar armor that broke them out of the shuttle.
yeah.
And
Which
it's like, okay, that makes more sense because
who facilitated that if he was imprisoned is my question.
your guess is as good as mine. We'll find out when they ever decide to tell us. But yeah, so and then um then we had somebody die. Paz VISZLA. He literally stays behind to be a badass, and
Yeah.
he probably killed a
Like
couple dozen of those
yeah, all of
stormtroopers
them except for
before
those elite guys that came out with the
the Praetorian guards. So the
yeah, the
reason why
Praetorian
they
guards.
so remember in the beginning, Gideon had requested the Praetorian Guards because he wanted Praetorian Guards. Because if you know what do the Praetorian Guards fight with, something that's basically lightsabers, and that lightsaber will go through Beskar armor. They He wanted the Praetorian Guard because they're literally trained to use weapons that will go through Beskar, and that's what it did. I mean, Paz Vizsla took so many fucking stabs before he just died. But like, yeah, I mean, to his credit, his helmet never fell off.
Right.
But
But he didn't
even though
really.
he was getting the crap beat out of him. But yeah, so I was really sad. Like, I was just starting to like him. This dude was just starting to get along with everybody. And yeah, he was. I still think he's the armorer's lover. Like they don't specifically talk
I
about
I I
relation.
think so too because I think that his kid was her kid.
hmm Because she had a very special interest when Paz Vizsla's son turned up
Yeah.
missing with, and it's like, okay, those two have something going on. And it may not be romance. I mean, we don't know what their culture is. Maybe they reproduce to for the purpose of just growing their numbers, and there was never romance. But a woman pops a kid out, she's gonna love that kid usually. So, but either way, I think that was like I think this episode really sets things up good for what we have coming for the season finale next week.
Yeah.
Um, I think
Season
that's
finale.
really
They've got a lots to wrap up, and they kind of left it as in a position where who's dead, who's not dead.
Yeah, I think that a lot of this was just because they're always leaving stuff up for making us like grip us in our seats for the next season, and that's what they're doing. So however they end us in the note uh, in the series, the season on this note, we're gonna have all sorts of questions for next season, and we won't see that until hopefully next year. But
I was thinking of what they call Bo-Katan's Mandalorians, the night whatever,
The Night Owls.
Night Owls. Yeah, that's why I was thinking there was another one. I was thinking the
Yeah.
Night Owls, then the um. Da, 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 da. Why am I drawing a blank? I was just reading it. The ones that were with the armor.
The the Children of the Watch.
Yeah, Children of the Watch.
But yeah, so we'll see next week what this story has in store for us. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this live stream, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Have a good one.